to 360 Sports, where today we're talking all about MLB baseball. I'm your host, Isabel, and today I'm here with Jacob, Isabella, and another Jacob. So starting it off, let's talk about the Mariners versus the Blue Jays rivalry. The Mariners have stormed out to a 2-0 lead over the Blue Jays in the ALCS thanks to Jorge Polanco's unreal play. Will Toronto turn it around, or do you guys think that Seattle will find its way to the World Series? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think in terms of Seattle, they are so hot right now. I don't see them slowing down. And I just want to take into perspective Jorge Polanco, and this is the magic of the playoffs and why I love baseball so much. A player like Jorge Polanco, who you haven't heard his name a whole lot all regular season, and now he's up there. He's better than Shohei Ohtani. All the stats reset, and now he's better than Shohei Ohtani.
Well, he hasn't been good at all.
I mean,
I guess we'll get to him
no,
later.
yeah. Shohei Ohtani has not been good at all so far in this postseason. But Jorge Polanco, he's meant so much to this Mariners crew, and that's how you know a team is hot, is when they have some of the guys in the sort of back half of the lineup hitting as well as he is.
Well, and I think Naylor's been sensational as well. He went 3 for 4 last night. And, he's hitting, I think he's hitting like 4th or 5th in their lineup maybe. But when you get past those top 3 guys like Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez, to have that depth that they've had, and with Naylor's performances, not just this postseason, but in previous postseasons as well, even the other night when I think he was 1 for 4 or 0 for 4 in game 1, but he was still making good contact, hitting the ball well, especially with the pitching performances in game 1. Like, it's guys like that are going to make the difference.
I honestly wasn't expecting like a 2-0 lead for the Mariners because I thought it was going to be the opposite, since look what the Blue Jays did to the Yankees. And then that got me thinking, oh, wow, the Yankees must be the problem then if the Blue Jays can't even do what they did against the Yankees. Mariners definitely came in very prepared. They're studying their opponent. They hit. They're all hitting. They're all pitching well. And I find it so funny that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was basically like the MVP of the Yankees versus Blue Jays series. He hasn't hit once this series.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, and Dalton Varsho was definitely a star in that Yankee series also, and he hasn't hit either. George Springer is kind of hitting. He's usually like a Yankee killer per se, and he barely is hitting. It's just a thing. Mariners are hitting. No one is hitting on the Blue Jays. Are the Blue Jays going to step it up, or are they going to let the Mariners take over? And the Mariners could potentially see the first time ever being in the World Series and first time ever winning the World Series. We'll have to see.
I have to say, Bo Bichette being out of the lineup really, really hurts the Blue Jays.
I don't think these first 2 games it would have really mattered, though. I mean, game 1 was kind of a pitcher's duel. Kevin Gausman and Bryce Miller both had really good outings. But the Mariners are also just the cleaner team. They've been cleaner in the field because it was really the errors that cost the Blue Jays in that first game. I think they still recorded as earned runs, but it was the errors that put them in scoring position, and then it's the one swing that makes the difference, and that's what ultimately won them that first game. And then Yee Savage was not good in game 2. He absolutely obliterated the Yankees with his splitter and was really nailing those pitches down in the zone. And he just left too many pitches hanging. And that was really the story of game 2, was too many mistakes by the Blue Jays and the Mariners capitalizing on them.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And I think, with the score being 10-3, the Blue Jays really suffered from, the Mariners, and their bats were hot. I think, Julio Rodriguez starting it off really awesome with a 3-run home run, top of the first. And then, Josh Naylor then also hit another 2-run hit. It was just, the bats were hot, and that ultimately makes the difference.
Like I said, sure. Josh Naylor 3 for 4 last night. He's one of those players that just always seems to get hot in the postseason.
Julio woke up. I won't lie. I usually we don't really see him in the regular season as much, but this postseason, he's just like, I'm here, ready to enter the World Series.
But again, I think that pitch by Yee Savage, I knew something was different then because, like I said, his splitter was down in the zone. He was killing the Yankees with it. as soon as he left that off-speed pitch hanging up in the zone, you knew you were seeing a different version of him than you did against in the ALDS.
Absolutely. And statistically speaking, in postseason history, teams taking a 2-0 lead in any best of 7 series have gone on to take that series about 84% of the time. So I think it's looking really good for the Mariners. I think they have a really good chance of finally making the World Series. And I think all of America is really rooting for them.
Hopefully we don't jinx them.
Yeah, knock on wood.
I don't think we're going to jinx them, though, because of an intangible. I'm going to talk about Humpy the Salmon.
Oh, God.
Humpy the Salmon. He is, if baseball knowers know the Washington Nationals, they have the President's Race. The Seattle Mariners have a fish race. And Humpy the Salmon was 0 for 167 going into Game 5 of the ALDS. He finally won a race, and the Mariners have not lost since. According to my calculations and my amazing predictive skills, I think if Humpy wins the rest of the games, I think the Mariners will too.
I would agree with that. I think Humpy's performance is symbolic to the Mariners' overall success, and I think Humpy's performance could carry them into the World Series, potentially over, a win.
He went on about this for longer before the show, by the way.
I did.
You're gonna see Mariner fans holding up a sign saying "Humpy." What is it?
Humpy the
Salmon.
Yeah.
Go Humpy the Salmon.
Yes.
Go Humpy the Salmon.
All right.
I will be.
Moving on to LA beating Milwaukee and leading them 2-0 thanks to the stellar pitching performances from Blake Snell and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. With games 3, 4, and 5 in LA, will the Dodgers clinch the series at home? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think if you saw anything from that Philadelphia Phillies series is that the Dodgers have the capability as long as they stay out of their bullpen. And the beauty of the playoffs for the Dodgers, at least, is that they can put their starting pitching in their bullpen now. So you have a guy like Roki Sasaki as your closer, which has been huge for the Dodgers. So I'm going to go with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, a complete game, only 3 hits allowed, an unbelievable performance by any type of pitcher in the MLB. But I believe it's his longevity that has allowed these Dodgers to now have rest, and their starters are now going to be allowed to pitch more throughout the courses of these next games.
Well, and Snell went, 8 innings in game 1,
exactly.
I think? I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The key for the Brewers is you have to get the starters out of these games. You've got to attack them early and get to that bullpen. The Dodgers starters through the 8 games in this postseason have an ERA of 1.54. The bullpen has an ERA of 4.76. That tells you the story, but they can't get the starters out of these games.
Right.
Honestly, I'm not surprised this is the case, that the Dodgers are 2-0. This feels like a mismatch. Brewers are a smaller market team. They don't have the all-star lineup that the Dodgers have. So it's going to be a little bit of a mismatch there. I think the Brewers did earn their place in the ALDS match with what they have and who they have. They remain top of their league with the best record for majority of the season. But at the end of the day, you're playing against the Dodgers, who really came off of a World Series win.
Exactly.
And this is just like kind of a lesson that just because you remain at the top for almost the whole season doesn't mean you're going to win the World Series. And we've seen that in every single sport, I believe. And yeah, if the Brewers want to avoid a sweep, practice hitting, practice the pitching more. I mean, there is hope that they'll catch up and stun the Dodgers, but it doesn't look good, the odds. But I do think the Dodgers will sweep the series and look for a World Series title again.
The other thing is, too, like you mentioned, the difference. You've got one of the smallest market teams going against the Dodgers who have the highest payroll. The star power for the Dodgers hasn't really shown up. Their top hitters have been Enrique Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, Mookie Betts, who obviously was one of their star power players, but didn't have a good regular season. Now all of a sudden he's showing up in the postseason.
Hernandez also.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez has been good, and Tommy Edman. I mean, those have been their best hitters. We mentioned Ohtani hasn't shown up. Freddie Freeman, I mean, he's one of the best postseason players in baseball, so you can always count on him. And he had a big home run in Game 1, didn't really do anything in Game 2. but the depth of their lineup has what's really showed up. I wrote down 2 guys, Alex Call and Ben Rortvedt, through 4 games are both hitting over 470. So
insane.
So
It's not
like
bad.
and then you go over to the Brewers.
Yeah.
Sal Frelick, Christian Yelich, and Bryce Terang haven't shown up at all at the plate. So when you've got those 3 guys not showing up, their pitching really was what carried them through this season, and it's the reason that they finished with the best record in baseball. But when you've got the Dodgers starters going as long as we mentioned earlier, you can only count on your pitching so much.
Yeah, and you mentioned the back half of the lineup hitting now for the the Dodgers. I want to point out that Max Muncy is now the all-time postseason home run leader
Yeah.
for the Dodgers, and
he's another one that just always seems to come up with
Exactly.
a big hit when you don't
Oh, yeah,
expect it.
Absolutely.
exactly.
History was also made that night as Yamamoto became the first Japanese-born player to throw a complete game in the MLB season,
Respect.
postseason, which I think is just really cool. And
That's amazing.
they're a really dominant team, as much as I hate to say it as a Phillies fan. And I think going back to the bullpen and your comments about it, that's really what ultimately took down the Phils. And it pains me to say that, but if you can take down star players like Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, you're capable of doing a lot of things. And I think the Dodgers bullpen is pretty unstoppable.
Pretty soon, the Japanese national team for the World Baseball Classic is just going to be the Dodgers.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I have a take on that for a later portion in this show.
All right.
But I just want to point out that Shohei Ohtani, in order for the Dodgers to make a very deep World Series run, he needs to get going.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy the lack of attention on that, because we heard everyone hammered Aaron Judge for the last several years. Ohtani's hitting, I think, 180 right now, and you don't hear anything about it. And I know Judge's the Yankees had been prominent because Ohtani was in Anaheim, Judge has been with the Yankees for a lot longer, but still, that was all you heard about with him. With Ohtani, you've hardly heard it at all. And Judge finally showed up this postseason. Ohtani still hasn't.
Yeah, well, segueing into our board segment, in honor of the World Series beginning soon, let's go to the board and give who we think was the best World Series winning team of all time. Jacob, you want to start it off?
I will. All right. So for my pick, I'm going to go with an underdog, per se. I'm going to go with the 2017 Houston Astros World Series team. Now, this team was so good. They literally couldn't lose. I mean, through multiple coaches, Alex Cora, AJ Hinch, fantastic manager that year. You had Jose Altuve. I just remember his home run off of Aroldis Chapman.
That was not that year.
Unbelievable. My bad. So I believe that the Houston Astros they're my pick because they literally couldn't lose.
Are we not going to talk about that they cheated?
Can we talk about
I didn't see any cheating.
Of course
Can we
you didn't.
talk about the fact that they got blown out at Yankee Stadium that year and then went back home and would win games 2-1?
They
Well,
won.
there was some other activity going on. We're just not going to bring that up.
No, I didn't see anything.
You
Turning a
read those
blind eye,
reports?
I see.
All right, fighting aside, Isabella, how about you go next?
Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna go opposite here and praise. I'm over here gonna go with the 2000 World Series champions, the Yankees. And first, we have to say this is a legendary match in MLB history because it was basically the first Subway Series World Series matchup. That's electrifying New York. That has everyone making money in the box office and whatever. And it was also the first fall classic since the Yankees beat the Dodgers in 1956. So shout out to that. And we're also going to shout out Derek Jeter because he was the MVP of that series. He hit the winning game home run in game 1. He hit the leadoff home run in game 4. And he had a crucial he hit a crucial home run in game 5. And in total, he had 6 runs and might be wrong, but 19 hits in that whole series, rightfully deserved that. Can't forget about Mariano Rivera with his Game 5 save from Mike Piazza hitting that fly out, and he also has done that 3 consecutive games in a row. He won the MVP in 1999, and he was contention in that year too. And we can't forget about the three-peat. That year was the three-peat, and that marks the third three-peat the Yankees have ever done, the most in history, when they've done 2 more before that, back in the 30s and back in the 50s. So just that 2000s World Series, I wish I was born to be there or even witness it on TV. And I think everyone else thinks it's a nostalgic thing too.
Wow, you really like the Yankees. I couldn't tell at all.
I mean, who can argue that is one of the best World Series to ever at all time? 4-1 beat the Mets. Show them who's boss, Yankees.
All right, Jacob, next up. Let's hear what you have to say.
She mentioned the three-peat. I'm going to go to the start of that three-peat with the 98 World Series winning Yankees. This team, as I mentioned, started the three-peat, 114 wins, widely considered to be maybe the greatest team of all time. They were younger. They were a better team, I think, than at the start of this run than they were before. They had 4 players that hit over 300 in that regular season, including World Series MVP Scott Brocious, who had probably the best year of his career that year, a really under-the-radar name that shined. They had a good mix of power in that lineup as well, with guys like Tino Martinez and Bernie Williams. They had 4 solid pitchers in their starting rotation, 3 of which could have been considered aces. David Wells was really the ace of that season, had one of the best years of his career. David Cohn was still in his prime, was heading towards the end of his prime, but was still a really good pitcher at that time. Andy Pettitte, considered one of the greatest postseason pitchers ever. And then you had El Duque, or as he's otherwise known, Orlando Hernandez, in that rotation as well, had a great year. And the greatest closer who was even better in his career in the postseason in Mariano Rivera. This team had 3 different players that would go on to win World Series MVP with Brocious that year, and then Rivera and Jeter, widely considered one of the greatest teams of all time.
I love it.
Wow, you guys really like the Yankees.
I also forgot to mention Derek Jeter had a 409 batting average that World Series game.
That's amazing.
So 2000s at least.
Well, a little controversial for this audience of
Hey,
analysts.
we can't get more controversial than we've already gotten.
We
But-
started
see
off
any
bad. We started
controversy.
off bad, guys.
In my opinion, I believe the greatest World Series winning team of all time was the 2008 Phils. I am very biased as a huge Phillies fan, but this was a very dominant team. You had star players like Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, and Jason Worth. And these were just, everyone was just really solid. I think, they beat the Rays 4-1 in the series. This was a very long but exciting series. Game 5 specifically took 3 days to play because of all torrential downpours, which is just insane. But these were hard-fought games. They weren't necessarily blowouts like a lot of these other games and other teams. But I think, they had the energy and the strength and the stamina that I think the modern-day era of the Phillies really struggle with. I think when the modern day Phillies just get down and low, they really can't, build themselves up versus this team was just so strong and dominant. Their energy was contagious. You felt it as a Phillies fan. So I definitely think this was a very dominant team. Like I said, they beat the Rays 4-1 in the World Series. They beat the Dodgers, I believe, also 4-1 in the championship series. And they beat the Brewers 3-1 in the division series. So this was a very dominant team. Again, I'm really biased as a lot of these players and stars in the team were my favorite players of all time for the Phils, but this is a really great team, and I believe it's the greatest of all time.
I think my second favorite was when the Yankees beat the Phillies in the 2009 World Series.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah,
I mean, there is an
that
argument
coming.
because the Phillies that year had a lot of the same players that they had from the 08 team.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. All right, well, moving on to our next segment. With only 4 teams left in the playoffs, there's a limited amount of matchups left in the MLB. So let's give an answer of what we think is the best matchup of the squads left for the World Series.
I'm going to have to go Seattle, LA. I mean, 2 juggernauts right now. LA with stellar pitching and, hitting with all facets of their lineup. And then Seattle with Humpy the Salmon.
Oh, God.
They can't lose with Humpy the Salmon.
Yeah. Isabella?
I mean, I just think no matter what, the Dodgers are going to be in the World Series.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, sorry, Brewers fans, but it's no competition here. The three, like I've said earlier, the three other teams left, it's a weird sight to see because it's not, you don't really see them. This we can compare this to when the Rangers versus Diamondbacks. I mean, who would have thought that would be a World Series game? But
Nobody in Philadelphia.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really tough to choose between the Mariners and the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays could have a comeback.
Yes.
It's 50-50 for me, but I will go with Dodgers versus Mariners World Series, but it is a question at the end of the day. Will the Blue Jays step up and clinch those series in a catch-up match? Or would the Mariners stun them and enter the World Series for the first time ever, like I said earlier?
I would agree with that. Jacob, how about you? Do you agree with that?
No, I'm definitely taking the Brewers out of the National League, and then the American League, I'll say the Mariners. I think the Dodgers may have taken over as the most hated team in baseball right now because of how they're spending. Not just because of how much money they're spending, but the way they're structuring these contracts. Like, what's the term that I'm looking for?
Deferring.
But like, thank you. Deferring all the money has rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way. So I don't know how many people really want to see them in the World Series, as opposed to the Brewers, who are this small market team that have brought in the right players and developed them through their system and have been one of the better stories this season because they were one of the few teams that didn't go into a slump, and that's why they ended up with the best record in baseball. And then the Mariners, they've been on the cusp for so many years. They've made some big moves at the deadline the past few years. They did it again this year, and so I think it would be a good story for them to finally make the World Series.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. And moving on to our last segment of the day, let's talk about free agents. So some players have already exercised their contract options, making them free agents. Let's look ahead and talk about some free agent options you'd like for your team to sign. Jacob, you want to start us off?
I would. And being a Philadelphia Phillies fan, I'm going to go with a Japanese wonder in Munetaka Murakami. So he was on the Team Japan World Baseball Classic team, I believe. And he was unbelievable. He's been lighting it up in Japan these past few years. And I think it's time, he is now a free agent. So, and the Phillies, they need to replace certain guys. They're not going to be paying Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. They have too many guys to pay, which is unfortunate because I would love to see Kyle Schwarber stay. But, I would waver that I would want Munetaka Murakami, a younger guy, over Schwarber.
I think it's just hard to say that he's going to go anywhere but the Dodgers.
That'd be a betrayal.
What is it? The last 3 or 4 Japanese players now have all gone to the Dodgers. I mean, it's just hard to predict that he'll go anywhere else.
Oh, they defer more contracts.
What about you, Isabella? What would you say?
Okay, Yankees fan. Re-sign Cody Bellinger. What are you guys doing? What are you waiting for? He wants more money. Give him more money. He has done his work. He has been a great defenseman for the Yankees. He has hit consistently for the Yankees this season. Oh my God. Just re-sign him, guys. Just give him the money he deserves. But I remember Yankees were also scouting Paul Skeens, and this was during the season. Pirates refused to give him up. Yeah, I wonder why, sarcastically. But are the Yankees going to give up? I don't think so. I think they want him. Paul Skeens is under contract until 2029. Pirates won't let him go, but there could be a chance for that trade, depending on basically like I said before, the small marketing and what the Pirates could really afford and do. But hypothetically, if they were to successfully get Paul Skeens, they would have to trade. The Yankees would have to trade
the whole team?
No, not the whole team.
Whole
notable hitters, I would say Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez could be in there. Spencer Jones could be in there. Originally, it was supposed to be Spencer Jones and George Lombard if that would happen. But I feel like the goal is to keep George Lombard Jr.
Yeah.
He's I think he's younger than me. He's a startup for the Yankees. He's the number one prospect for the Yankees. And I think he's going to be good for that spring training, see what he could do. If they did trade Volpe, he hasn't improved since his rookie year. So sorry, guys. I love him, but he might have to go. Maybe some deals in the future. Definitely not right now. But for the finale, Kyle Tucker, he just entered free agency. Yankees could use another great hitter. He's consistent. He's very dangerous in the outfield. Guys, picture this. Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge. That's the most dangerous outfield lineup you could ever say. He is a Golden Glover. He's a Silver Slugger Award recipient, and he's a 2-time All-Star.
That's amazing.
He's a lefty batter, too. Batting lefty in Yankee Stadium, iconic.
Yep.
I think if you're the Yankees, like, forget Tucker and just focus on bringing back Bellinger. He's happy as a Yankee. It's kind of known that he wanted to be there for a while. He had a really good first season there. He also has athleticism that they don't have in many other spots on the team. Outside of that, I think you look at Pete Alonso. Schwarber, I think, would fit well with the Yankees because of the lefty bat in Yankee Stadium. I think it's unlikely that he goes there, though. I think it's unlikely that he goes there because they don't really have a spot on the team for him right now. I think the other big guy that you got to go after is Bo Bichette because of the problems you've had with Anthony Volpe in the season he just had. And then just a couple of other big names. I would look at bringing back Michael King to potentially bolster the rotation. He could also go into the bullpen. I think with the money you'd be paying him, though, he'd probably be in the rotation. That's another thing with Tucker. I think he's going to get more money than Bellinger that I don't think he's worth. And then look at bolstering the bullpen. I've got Pete Fairbanks had a good season in Tampa Bay. Robert Suarez had a really good past few years in San Diego. And Andres Munoz really good with the Mariners.
Sounds great. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I would say Kyle Schwarber, contrary to your opinion, Jacob. I love Kyle. I think he's a great guy and a great player overall. You know, he was the All-Star MVP this year. He had 56 regular season home runs, one of the league, leaders. And he's just a great guy. And I think he's a really good piece to the Phillies. So thank you so much for tuning in to 360 Sports. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And shout out to tomorrow's show all about NBA basketball.